the spirit of reconciliation, We Are Theatre acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respect to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. Hello, theatre fans, one and all. Welcome back. We are on our first show spotlight for 2023, and we're starting off at the Haze. We're starting off with Urinetown. I've got Benoit and Barbra here from Urinetown. Hey, guys, how's it going?
Hey, Josh.
Hi, great.
Hi.
I am really excited about this, guys. Urinetown is like one of these kind of unique shows that most, I would say, new musical theatre people don't know anything about, because it is an older modern show, let's call it. 2001 was when it kind of hit the stage. But first, let's dive into you guys as performers. We'll start with you, Benoit. How did you get to where you are today?
Good question. So I don't know, I guess I was performing at a very young age in my school musicals and school productions and things like that.
Yep.
So I did that throughout primary school and then going into high school as well. I was very lucky. I went to a great high school that, did lots of great musical theatre shows, and I was lucky in that sense. And then when I was about 16, I was like, oh yeah, I could make this a career. I could maybe do this for the rest of my life. And then I graduated year 12 and then auditioned for some music theatre courses, and then got into one of my dream courses at the VCA in Melbourne. Studied there for 3 years and then graduated in 2021, and then have just since been auditioning and doing a few shows here and there. And then I was lucky enough to score myself Urinetown at the Haze, and then that's where I am, baby. Yeah.
Hey. Barbra, let's jump to you.
So I was like a dancer when I was younger. I grew up there in that sort of world. And then I got to high school and mum and dad were like, this is the time to start knuckling down at school time. And I was great at school, but I don't know, missed that sort of passion for performing. And then I got introduced to like a local theatre company because I'm from Brisbane. So down in Brisbane, Rocket Productions, they were amazing and sort of brought that spark back to life. And I was like, you know what, same as Benoit, what do I want to do with my life? This is pretty much all I do with my life now. And so I was like, let's give it a shot while we're young. And so I studied for 2 years at the Australian Dance Performance Institute, doing a diploma and an advanced diploma of music theatre, which was great experience, great training. And then that got me into my bachelor course, which I just graduated from last year. It's the new Bachelor of Music Theatre at the Elder Conservatorium down in Adelaide with George Toparis. So that's been brilliant.
Awesome.
And now I'm here at the Haze as well, just after graduating, which has been such an honour. And
that's so cool. On a almost a fan scale, what do you guys remember the first show that you guys saw professionally and that kind of would have started that track to where you are?
I, funnily enough, never ever saw musical theatre growing up, ever.
There you go.
Yeah, it was really interesting. It's something my parents never really took me to.
Yeah.
And I think my first show I ever saw was in 2000. Oh, I'm going to get the date wrong, but it was 2015 maybe, and I saw The Lion King with my best friend. Maybe 2015, maybe a little bit earlier.
Solid one to start off though.
Yeah, it was a great one to start off with for sure. But it took me a really long time to see musical theatre professionally. So I don't really know what it was.
Yeah.
I think it was just being on stage for me that kind of sparked the interest and love for it,
Yeah. I think I got into it quite late, like Benoit. I would say I think mine's The Lion King too, I think. Because we're the same age, we probably saw it at the same time when we were younger.
Probably.
We're literally a day apart, fun fact.
We are.
Oh, wow.
But I remember seeing Oliver on the West End when I was younger, randomly on a family trip. So that would have been there deep
Yeah.
down somewhere for a while.
Yeah, lovely. Let's dive into being at the Haze.
Yeah, let's do it.
Can you guys throw me your kind of summary of who you guys are in this show, so we know what we're talking about for the next little bit. I'll start with you, Barbara. Give me an idea into who you bring to life.
So my character is little Becky Two Shoes. She's this little firecracker. She's part of the poor, and me and Benoit's character are a little bit of a duo. We work together, and I don't know how many spoilers we can sort of give on the show, but in Act 2, they're in a secret hideout, and yeah, trying to get back at the higher powers that are treating them really terribly, with all of the laws that are going on. And so she's a big part in keeping their side strong and standing up for what they want in the world. So don't know if that. Yeah,
that answered the question. Benoit? Anything to add to that?
Hot Blades Harry is the character I play. And he's a little, similar to Barbara, a little pocket rocket who is infested with the idea of, I guess, revenge and vengeance. And so he works alongside Barbara's character, little Becky Two Shoes, and the rest of the poor, to sort of capture hope, and they use her as bait, I guess, to get back at the government in the show.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
lovely. If you had to give some random person standing outside the theater being like, do I see this show, an elevator pitch of what the show is, how would you do it?
How would I do it?
Yeah. What's your elevator pitch of, hey, this is why you should come see this show?
That's a hard question. I think I would just maybe do a song and dance. Maybe just be like, come to Piss Town. I promise you'll enjoy it. There'll be something in there that you'll enjoy. I don't know.
It's so hard with the show like Urinetown, because it's designed to the marketing is all about the fact that it's not a conventional show, and so it's a bit obscure, and so a lot of people, even the general public, have like we've seen walk past the Urinetown poster going, Urinetown, what type of show is that? Like it's hard, but it's full of fun. It's full of humor, it's full of joy, and it's especially with the theater like the Haze, it's such an intimate space. Everyone's a part of the fun and everyone's a part of the joke, and it's I love the show so much.
That was a perfect lead in, like, getting audiences in and seeing their reactions to this show in a space like the Haze. For those of you that have listened to the show before, you've heard me talk about the Haze when we spoke to the guys from Bonnie and Clyde. Such a unique venue with the tiered seating that ends right on your level, at stage level. What was it like getting audiences in and getting this show up and running on that first couple of nights, having people in front of you?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, I feel like doing a comedy is always so scary, because when you're rehearsing for a really long time. We only rehearsed for like a week, which is insane. But when you're rehearsing, you rehearse the jokes, I guess, in the comedy so much that you forget it's funny.
Yeah.
So when you have an audience, especially in the Haze, when it's so intimate, like Barbara was saying, and they're so there, and you feel a really strong connection with them because it's so small. It's such a different performance to hear them laughing and hear them interact with you, and it's so lovely as an actor.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the rest of the cast agrees, but it's just very fulfilling and really satisfying when you kind of, get that interaction with them, and it's quite nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Barbara?
I think with a show like Urinetown, the connection between the performance, like the characters and the audience, is such a big thing in the writing, let alone the story. So I think establishing that connection in a small space where people can, like, the audience can see the expressions and how you're interpreting things and the jokes and the satire behind it all. I think the Haze is a really great space, because when I did it, we're both on the show separately in different companies and institutions, and the version that I did was on a much bigger scale as well. which has its benefits, of course, but it's also nice working in it in such a small scale and getting nuances that are designed within the show, because the show is designed for a lot of people doubling up as characters and all that sort of thing. So, yeah, I think it works really well.
Yeah, amazing. Now, this next part is a two-part kind of loaded question. It's all about your favorite moments in the show, but it's split into two. So your favorite moment that you're a part of, and then a favorite moment that you kind of get to sit back and watch and see come to life. So have a think, and whoever's got it jumping in mind first can jump in. And
I think straight away, my favorite thing to watch, and I think it's sort of the only moment that we get to watch because we're in everything, is the duet with Hope and Bobby. I think that's always so sweet. It's such a beautiful number, and it's just those two on stage, and they Petronella and Joel, who play Hope and Bobby respectively, do such a beautiful job of just capturing this love that Hope and Bobby have, this innocent love, and it's just so sweet to listen to and watch every night. And then I think my favorite part that I'm in is definitely Snuff the Girl, when we're sort of doing a big dance number, and we've got Hope captured on the chair, and we're sort of surrounding her and threatening to kill her and everything. And it's just such a big song and dance number, and it's really, really fun. Typical Broadway number. Yeah. You know, it's hard not to love.
I feel like I have to say the same thing in terms of the one that I love being a part of in Snuff, because it's Benoit and I, and we have the best time, so it's definitely up there on the list. And I was also going to say Follow Your Heart, because it is the only time we are off stage, because it is so wonderful. But to be different, I'm going to say we have this gag in the show, because our Tiny Tom is the same character as our Barrel, and often those tracks cross paths. Yeah. So instead of trying to, get Tom, so our Tiny Tom is the actor's called Tom, which I think is hilarious too. Instead of making Tom sneak around to appear as Barrel, we actually make it a big gag, so we don't hide it basically. And so we make it this big thing in terms of, we look at Tom as if Tom's forgotten that he's supposed to be Barrel, and he runs around, apologizes for all this stuff. It's really funny. Be like, and again. So I think that's really clever.
That's a really cool way of doing it. That kind of brings us to the end here, guys. So one last question. If you had to give anybody listening, watching, seeing this on social media, one reason why they should jump on to hayestheatre.com.au/events/Urinetown right now and buy a ticket to come see you guys, what's the one reason that they should get a ticket right now?
I think they should get a ticket right now because you'll laugh. You'll probably cry of laughter. Your stomach will hurt from laughing, which I think is something that we've needed in the past few years.
Yes.
So give yourself the pleasure of doing that. And you'll also walk away, I think, realizing that the show has said something about the world that we live in, which I think is what is so important about theatre. Yeah. In any way, shape or form, I think you'll walk away from it having such a good time and questioning the world that we live in, which I think is great.
Just before you jump in on that, Barbara, that's a good point. Comedy and satirical comedy at that as well. How the theme, like how theatre transmits themes most of the time is kind of makes you feel and puts you in the person's shoes. With the satirical comedy, how do you reckon Urinetown goes about that to kind of give people that connection and be like, hey, this is you, this is what your world's like right now, and after everything we've been through, how do you think people are perceiving that satirical side of things differently and being able to connect with that?
Yeah, I think Urinetown does a great job of just laying it out there and giving it hardcore and sort of not beating around the bush. Yeah. I think it goes, hey, these are the problems. We're going to make jokes about it because it's funny, but also you're laughing at it because the joke's funny, but then you realize that it's actually happening. Yeah. And then you go, oh, that's funny because we live in that world, and this world is actually not as different as the world we live in now. Yeah. Which I think is great writing.
Yeah.
And, you know, the show was made nearly 20 years ago, but it's still relevant now, which I think is so important. And I think audiences appreciate that. Well, at least I hope they appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Barbara, one reason why?
I think Urinetown grows on people. So I feel like those that know Urinetown absolutely love it, and those that don't know Urinetown, they learn to love it really quickly. So I think you'd be surprised, is what I'm going to say, and how much you'll connect and enjoy with the show.
There we go. There's your 2 reasons why you should go and see Urinetown. That's amazing. Guys, you've got, what, 2-3 weeks until you're out? So let's say 2.5 to call it even. Tickets, as we said before, hayestheatre.com.au/events/Urinetown. You guys can get everything there. This is going to be one of those, again, I absolutely love the Hayes as a theatre, guys. So if you haven't been there, get there, because the experience inside as an audience member is, I think, just as unique as being on that stage and being in that space as well. So make sure you're checking out. You've got until February 5th to see this show, guys. So just the other side of the turn of the month to get in and see this show. So make sure you're doing it. And we will be back next week with a brand new episode. This has been our first show spotlight. We're back to our spotlight with Sam Hagen next week. And yeah, I know, right? I'm excited too. But wherever you guys are right now, make sure you're giving us a like, thumbs up, following, sharing. Everything's going to be there. You'll see us all on social media. These guys will be everywhere. Make sure you're following them as well. And we'll be back next week with a brand new episode of the We Are Theatre